other passwords?
I only have one. Yeah, try Yahoo, I'll get it. Okay. Anyway, you'd hit that download button and you'd download the song. Wayne, you know a password that I don't know? No? Such is life. So let me go back to the home page. Yeah. What's that? Jingle. Oh, okay. Great.
Everybody got that down?
Great. So I push a button, it connects, and I'm downloading the song.
So now you can't take it back. You click.
That's
that
right.
Song's
You
getting
click,
downloaded.
you own it. We have one-click downloads. We have an online store that does between $1 billion and $2 billion a year. We have one-click shopping. We're the only other folks in Amazon that do. We have extended that to one-click downloads. You click the button, bills your credit card, downloads the song.
So if your 7-year-old gets on this and starts clicking,
yeah,
you're hosed.
Well, you have a lot of great music. Okay, and so now I can go to my purchase music playlist, and there's my song. And I've got, you know, album art here and whatever else I need.
Now that song now is on this Mac. It's on the hard disk.
It's on the hard disk. I own it. Nobody's ever going to take it away from me. If I quit paying a monthly subscription fee, I can burn as many CDs as I want. I can put it on as many iPods as I want. I own it.
And you can put it on how many computers?
Up to 3 Macs.
No Windows computers?
Not yet.
Okay.
But we're going to have a version of Windows by the end of the year.
And what if I upload this to Kazaa?
It will only play on those 3 Macs.
So somebody else can download it, but
won't be very interesting.
Won't be very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now let me go search for some music. I can search for, you know, "Soak Up the Sun," and I can just type it in here, and boom, there's that album off of Sheryl Crow, or that song, excuse me. And I can go back here and again go to Sheryl Crow's page. I can go to that album. I can see all the music that she's got. Pick any album. Go there. Play any of the songs I want.
Now, there are some big artists you don't have on here.
Yes, there are.
I mean, you have, what, 200,000, 210,000, something like that?
200, yeah, we have over 200,000 tracks. We don't have the Beatles yet. Some of the big artists have carve-outs in their contracts that don't allow the labels to distribute them online. We visited with many, many artists personally. Fortunately, most of them use Macs, and they all have iPods, and so they were very, very trusting of us and let us put their music on here, but we don't have it all. We're getting more every single week. I want to show you one other thing on here that I love.
All right.
You can type in a song. Whoops, you got to know how to type. "One for the Road." It's an old song, "One for the Road." And it's just amazing when you start getting these large music libraries what you can see in here. Like, here's a bunch of versions of it. Here's Willie Nelson. Ella Fitzgerald. Henry Belafonte.
Harry Belafonte.
Billie Holiday. Bette Midler. You name it. And of course, Frank Sinatra.
I hope you didn't mind my band in your ear.
And if you wanted these, you just click that.
You just click that buy button and you own them. And one last way to find music is browse, which we've never seen before on anything online, which is all the genres here. So you can pick, you know, I want rock and roll. You pick the rock genre, and this lists all the artists. You can find any one, and you know, you just pick any one, and it shows you all their albums. You can pick all their albums and see all their songs right here, or you can pick any album and just see the songs on that album. And
can we try one more thing?
Sure.
For some reason that I don't understand, Kara Swisher's favorite song is "Copacabana" by Barry Manilow. You have no idea how hard it was for me to stop her from playing that as one of the songs here at the conference.
How do you spell it?
Just put Manilow maybe and you can find it. I don't know. Just wondering if you have it.
M-A-N-I-L-O-W.
Is it a big seller on the Apple Store?
I wouldn't know. And so we can sort by song, and we can go down here, and he's got 195 songs on here, and there's two versions of Copacabana. And
am I right? I mean, you know, there it is.
Great, yeah, that's great. Thank you.
All right, just take some questions. All right, we have time for some questions. A few, please come to the mics.
Well, one of the other things I wanted to say about this that's really fun is, of course, we've gotten a lot of questions, are you going to sell videos this way? And maybe someday videos will be in the future, especially when we all get more bandwidth to our homes. But one of the great things about music is that you can deconstruct it down to these little 99-cent morsels. And at 99 cents, you can buy 3 songs for the price of a Starbucks latte. And so it's kind of wonderful. You hear something on the radio, you get into work, you buy it.
Let me ask you one more thing before we go to the questions. This looks great, and you have demoed it before, I think, we could tell. But everybody's going to have this, right, by the end of the year? You're going to have it on Windows. Our friend Rob Glazer, who's here, he has a music service. He's going to have it on Windows. Not the kind of thing they have now, but something like this. I read in the Wall Street Journal that Amazon's going to have it. Microsoft is trying to do it. So you no longer, you look cool, you look great, you're on the covers of magazines, you get big articles, but that's a 6-month phenomenon, right? At the end of the year, you're just one of the guys, everybody has it.
Well, that's assuming it's really easy to do. And what we found, maybe these guys are a lot smarter than us, they probably are, but we found it's pretty hard to do.
You don't really believe that.
I don't know, we'll find out. We think it's really hard to do. It's really hard to get the labels to give you the rights that you need. And I don't see them sprinkling those rights around everywhere, letting 1,000 flowers grow quite yet. It's really hard to write software, and do a good job at it. So, this is not something that can be done well on a web browser. You need a client application, and you need a jukebox. You've got to own a jukebox, so that kind of cuts it down a little bit.
So we got Music Match. They have a jukebox.
You got Music Match.
Real has a jukebox.
Real and Microsoft and others. So it gets you down to a handful of players, and it's an awful lot of work. And then you might say, it would be great if you could put it on portable players, and you might want to put it on the most popular portable player, which is an iPod. And so we like to sell iPods, so we're really open to working with those folks. But so far, very few of them have even come and asked for that. And so we'll find out. We'll find out. But I think it might be a little harder than it seems.
Yes, ma'am.
Steve, you talked about handwriting and keyboard. How about speech as used interface? People were talking about for years.
The last part of that question is exactly right. I've been in this industry almost 30 years, and speech has always been 5 years away. It's been constant time to completion, just moving along 5 years away. And most of the really smart people in speech I know have gotten out of the field. It's like nuclear fusion. A lot of bright people went into it, and people now think it's a ways away. Now you can do adequate speech today, but it means you're correcting a lot of stuff. If you just have even a 1% error, it drives you nuts, because it turns out you can speak a lot of words in a 5-minute interval. So it's got to be very accurate, and so far no one's come up with the technology. I mean, Apple's got we got a speech group working on stuff. Microsoft has a group. A lot of great work's being done in academia, but it doesn't look like it's going to be real anytime soon. I wish it was different.
Yes, sir.
Steve, in addition to music and video, Apple has been one of the early leaders and proponents of Wi-Fi with the airport. What are you currently planning as the equivalent of the music store for wireless?
Well, you're correct. Apple was the first computer company to ship really a low-cost Wi-Fi device with Airport 3.5 years ago, maybe 3. And we've sold a lot of Wi-Fi products. We were the first ones to ship 802.11g at the beginning of this year, which is a 54 megabit per second version of 802.11, which is backwards compatible with B. And G is clearly going to be the next standard. A lot of folks made a lot of noise about A, but A is going to fail, and G is going to be the next one because it's compatible with everything that's out there, and A is not. And we're shipping a whole lot of that. So, we're building it into all of our computers. We have for a few years now, and we've built it into the software so that it's completely seamless now. And that's what we're doing. I think like any network, it'll just disappear, and it'll just be there for you.
Except in this room.
Except in this room.
Steve, the internet piracy has been blamed for a lot of the decline in sales in the music industry. But as I think about it from their perspective, much of their growth has come from essentially unwanted bundling for a long period of time, where you bought an album that had 12 or 13 or 14 songs, 2 of which you really wanted, and the rest you really wouldn't buy on an a la carte basis. If you look at the margin structure of that business versus what will happen in an a la carte universe where you can buy things individually, it seems like there's a huge leg down yet in margins for that business. If you're successful, and if the industry is successful in this, what happens with EMI teetering on the edge of bankruptcy today? What happens to the industry, or does it just radically evaporate?
Well, you know, that is the conventional wisdom, but I don't think it's true. And it turns out you're right. A lot of the music companies, most of the music companies, are losing a lot of money right now. What we found so far in 4 weeks of operation is that over half the tracks we sold over 3 million tracks, over half the tracks we've sold were bought as albums. Isn't that amazing? Making it so easy to buy a 99-cent song, over half the tracks we've sold so far have been sold as albums.
And what do albums cost typically?
We made the song pricing uniform at 99 cents. The albums float a little bit based on what we buy them for from the labels. So they're $7.99 to $11, $12.99, but almost all of them are $9.99.
And don't you think maybe that this high rate of album purchase is just because you're
Albums?
at the very beginning of this, people are kind of think in terms of albums, but as he said, maybe over time,
you know,
it'll be lower and lower and lower, and people will just buy a la carte
I think the
singles.
answer is nobody knows, but my personal belief, and this is just a guess, is that the labels will be lowering album prices over time to keep enticing you to buy the albums, and that a significant share of the songs sold will continue to be albums. The other interesting thing that we've learned, though, is that the record labels, you can only buy about 20% of a catalog that a record label owns, right? Like if you take Warner, great record company, you can only buy about 20% of their songs. Why is that? Because the rest of them don't sell enough for the record stores to carry the CDs. They won't carry the inventory. So 80% of music we've never heard over the last few decades. It's in a vault somewhere, I hope, but it's not on the record store shelves. Well, when you don't have inventory, like in an online store, all of a sudden that catalog can open up, and you can find stuff you've never heard before. And I expect that the catalogs are going to be worth a lot.
Tim.
I'd be interested in your response to a question that Walt asked Bill last night. But if you were 17 years old and starting all over again, what would you put your bets on?
Intellectually, I mean, when I was 17 years old, I didn't imagine I would be in technology, so I don't know. But intellectually, the most exciting thing to me is biosciences.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent lead-in. Is Apple thinking at all about using this architecture of these distributed devices having centralized information, making that information more personal in that area of medicine or biosciences or biomechanical devices, anything at all to basically help individuals in that realm?
We haven't so far. A really, really good old friend of mine, really smart person I know, suggested that to me just yesterday. I certainly think it's something our industry should take a look at, but I don't think there's a lot of work going on today. Thanks.
I'd be interested in hearing, since you came back to a struggling Apple 6 years ago, what's the hardest decision you've had to make in the last 6 years?
Always the hardest decision I think anybody leading an organization makes is to let people go. And at the beginning at Apple, it was pretty tough. Apple was in worse shape than I thought when I joined. I just come back temporarily at the beginning. And the individual contributors were unbelievable. I asked a lot of them, why in the heck did you stay? And they had a phrase that I'd heard several times. They said, well, we bleed 6 colors. But the folks that were less good was the management. And we had to change management of the company. And so we had to let people go. And when you're a little younger and you don't have a family of your own, maybe it's a little easier. You don't think about it as much. But when you start to have a family of your own and kids, you realize that the person you're laying off's got to go home and tell their family they don't have a job. And it's pretty tough. It's pretty tough. So that was, I think, the hardest thing I've had to do in the last many years. Now, fortunately, we got that out of the way in the first year. And our competitors have laid off tens of thousands of people in the last 2.5 years, and we haven't. We haven't had no big layoffs, and we decided to innovate our way through this downturn, and so we're turning out more products now than we ever have in the company's history. But the first year was very hard. Yeah.
Thanks very much, Steve.
Thank you, Walt.